And a good afternoon to everybody, and welcome to another edition of Real Talks. My name is David Steele. So today, I thought what we'd do is talk about a little something different. Um, so I was actually following somebody else on Twitch last night, and they were playing poker on the PS4, and I hadn't fired it up in a long, long time. And so after all the updates and everything else, um, one of the games, and I will link all the videos there. Um, Hello, Colin. How are you? Um, I will. I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you. I hope you're doing much better. Um, so one of the things after all the updates, one of the things I saw, and this was the last game. I'm a decent gamer, but not like some people. And so after all the updates and everything else, I had saw something that I hadn't seen in years. And it was the last game that I beat. And I think, and I'll once again, I'll link all of the things in there for you guys. But I think it's a perfect game. And we always talk about perfect movies and everything else. And art's subjective, we know that. But I'm talking about The Last of Us Part 2. Now, anybody who is not familiar with The Last of Us, first of all, get on board. Second of all, it is in apps. The first game is one of those games. So Naughty Dog. Let me backtrack a little bit. So Naughty Dog is a triple A video game um, video game studio, and it was a very cool. I mean, they're known for Uncharted and some other games, and the story goes that what ended up happening was Naughty Dog was looking for their next big IP, if you will. And so Colin says here, I played it while you were on break. It was immaculate. Yeah, it was. It's a perfect game, over 300 awards. So the story goes that Neil Druckmann was actually looking for a new IP at the time, and he had this idea. And this was a story based game. And the first game was really, really, really solid. Um, so I'll briefly go through it for anybody who's not familiar with The Last of Us. It is a post-apocalyptic world, and it this that we have two main characters, protagonists. We have Joel and we have Ellie, and basically the whole story is that one of them has to. So they were trying to figure out if there's a cure for this virus. Ironically, this happened during the time of COVID. So what ended up happening was the game was incredible, very, very good. So you think, okay, well, how are they going to follow it up? I I can't believe that we have a game that actually was better than the first, and it was that much better on so many different levels. So the reason I'm bringing this all up is number one, the remaster is exactly, Colin. That's exactly what I'm going to talk about here in just a second. So the remaster, okay, is coming out on January 19th. Now, they remastered the first one for the PlayStation, okay, PS5, and now they're doing the second one. They were trying to do a lot of multiplayer. That didn't really work out. Okay. So everybody who's familiar with the game was all ecstatic when they said, we're going to do the Last of Us part, series. They're like, what? How? It's one of those things where you have to, because there had been so many different video game adaptations that it was one of those things where they're like, oh, okay. So when HBO Max said, we're going to do this and we're going to do this right. And by the way, Drunkman was on board with this. He said, okay, let's do it. Now, he ended up getting the writer of another HBO fantastic series entitled Chernobyl. So it's my generation, but anybody who's not familiar with Chernobyl, back in 1986, 1987, there was a meltdown of a nuclear power plant. And that series basically detailed how the warning signs and everything else. It was an incredible series. Okay, fast forward. Mazin actually ended up co-writing this with Drunkman. So now we get the headlines. Who's going to play Ellie? Who's going to play Joel? And there had been a lot of speculation. So finally, what ends up happening is they cast Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey. Anybody who's watched the first, and by the way, guys, I'm going deep into spoilers for the first and the second game. So if you guys haven't played it, or if you haven't watched the series, I'm warning you right now, because the second season is going to be unbelievable. And so in the remastering, oh, I did not know that. That's pretty cool. That's very cool to know. I'll have to do that. So yeah, so I'm going deep into spoiler, guys. So at the end of the first game, okay, so Ellie essentially was the cure. Joel had to take her from point A on all the way to Utah, and basically to figure out if it was a cure. The key, the little catch was that she had to get killed. Joel basically went through all of this trauma and everything else, and basically rescued her. So we move on to the second season and the second game. And if you're a filmmaker or you like film or anything else, you know, okay, what happens. And I'll get to that in a little bit. So the first part about this, I want to talk about the casting. Okay. So we've had in the last 2 days, we've had three. So in The Last of Us Part 2, there are four main people. Okay. We know two of them, in Joel and Ellie. Okay. But there are three other major characters in this: Jesse, Dina, and Abby. So what we're going to do is we want to walk through the casting and see if it's, if the first season is any indication of the second season, they're spot on. So the first character I'm going to talk about, okay, is Jesse. Now, Jesse, okay, anybody who's watched the show Beef, okay, Beef is a very good show, ended up winning a couple of Globes the other night, okay. Young Mazino is going to play Jesse, okay? And, one of the things when you talk about shows is how are they going to cast, right? This looks like a very good casting, okay? I will say this, all of the different individuals they got do look like the character. I mean, you can just see here plainly that he really does look like Jesse, okay? And so Jesse, in the grand scheme of things, is Dina's ex-boyfriend. I think that this is going, he's not going to have a huge role, but he's going to have a little bit of a pivotal role, especially if they kind of change up the or rework the story like they did for the first season. I think this is a really good casting. He looks the part. He's an accomplished actor, and I think he can definitely get the job done. I can definitely think he's going to get the job done, but he is a supporting character. Let's call it what it is. He pops in and out. So yeah, I think Jesse is definitely a good, solid. This is a good, solid casting for. A good, solid casting for them for that. But that is a secondary character. We want to know who the protagonists are and the antagonists and everything else. So one of the other antagonists, and we just got this casting today, okay, is Isabella Merced, okay, and she is going to be playing Dina. Now, I like it. I've not really seen a lot of her work, but once again, all accomplished actors. So I have no doubt that the casting is top notch. I mean, this is world class stuff, when they're talking about this. So she is she's going to be cast as Dina. And so, according to so this is part of a statement by Mazin and Drugman. Dina is warm, wild, funny, morale, dangerous, and instantly lovable, and she is. You can search for her. You can search forever for an actor who effortlessly embodies all of these things, or you can find Isabella Moran right away. We couldn't be prouder to have her join the family. So she's known for one of the Transformers and Sicario. Um, so she's going to be joining a couple of other additions and everything else. So I think that this is, once again, a good, solid casting. Now, when you look at her compared to what she was in the game, now everybody's going to say, oh, that doesn't look like her. You don't have to look exactly like her. Now, there is another, there, excuse me, there is somebody else. Okay. I don't know if she would have been interested in it. I think, but you could have gotten the face model. I think, I think you could have gotten the face model for the show. I think that would, when we talk about authenticity, if you want to really, really, really push authenticity, um, I think that, look, I think that would have been a stellar choice. Yeah, obviously, she might have been doing other things, or she might not have been interested. Um, I think that, however, in itself, um, could have really done something. Um, so, but I think Dina's, once again, she's got a more of a pivotal role. Let's, she is basically um, Ellie's right hand girl. Okay, that's her girl, and so I think that would have been that would have been a good, solid choice as well. So, but, and I'm putting these up here because I mean, it's one of those things where I think I have no doubt she's going to do well. I have no doubt she's going to do well. The expectations are through the roof, though. The expectations are through the roof. Maybe she'll cameo how Troy Baker did. That's a possibility. That's a possibility. I think that would be really good, actually, if she cameoed. Um, I don't know exactly. Maybe she's in Jackson. I mean, that is definitely a possibility of something happening there. But the big one, and this is the one that everybody is going to be talking about. Um, so I want to see if, okay. So the one that is really, as I said, now we're kind of going through both of them. There is one character, and Colin, you're right, it's Abby. There is one character that really is necessary, and that's Abby. Abby is going to be, so we just got this today, okay, that uh, Caitlin Dever, I should say, is going to be playing Abby. Now, I could bring up a photo of her and what she looks like, but Abby is the perennial one. This is the one that anybody who has played the game, it's a long, long, long game. It's about 15 hours. But what they do is they make you, there's 3 or 4 main themes. One is, and I love in the first 10 minutes how they use death and life. Okay. And then, it's about acceptance and then forgiveness. So we go through, and Abby is the other one. Abby is the other big, big character. And so, once again, accomplished actress and Caitlin Devers. But she's going to have, first of all, she needs to stay off social media. Anybody who's played the game and knows about Joel's death, she needs to stay off of social media. Because I'm telling you right now, she is going to get bombarded by so many trolls and so much hate that it isn't even funny. And I think that being said, she really does need to stay off of social media. So the reason I bring this up is because, well, let's face it, she is the one that that basically is the antagonist here. And we have to base it. I was watching that. I was gonna actually play the clip. First of all, I don't want to get hit with a copyright and get taken down. But anybody who has seen the game and knows the game is familiar. Joel dies. Okay. Joel dies. And that's the whole first. While it is, it's hard. I'm just going to say this. Joel's death is hard to watch. I mean, even I, trying to find the clip, I had to turn away. I really did. Because what she ends up doing, first of all, she shoots him in the leg. Then she tells one of her compadres, her people, that it's a medical, put a tourniquet on him. I'm going to take my time. She clears the room out, okay? And the twist is, by the way, this is a fantastic twist. The twist is that Abby is the daughter of the doctor who's going to perform the surgery on Ellie. And Joel killed him. So when we see this, and we see the vengeance and the anger and the absolute unmitigated rage she has, it's violent. It's almost uncomfortable. It's almost, and pretty much is uncomfortable. And that is going to be the big loophole. What are they going to do? I mean, look, I have no doubt in my mind that Caitlin can play her. It's going to take, first of all, she's going to have to bulk up. But more importantly, she's going to have to she's going to have to develop a thick skin. There's no doubt about it. Right? And just how it was done and the reaction we see from Ellie and what happens. And this is where things are going to get really interesting. Because what do Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann do? It's like the elephant in the room. You cannot. That scene will probably win an award. I don't know. It's gonna. The one, I will say this: the one thing about HBO Max that they're afforded is they can be violent. They can be violent. So if they want to, they can go full bore. They can go full bore. And I think they're going to have to. You say, well, they need to mix it up and everything else. Look, if you're staying true to the game, you have to stay true to the game. I have an idea where they're going to go. Obviously, I'm not in tune or in touch with anybody there. But I think that what you do is you have this scene. So I have what I call an oh shit moment. It's a moment in a show or a movie, preferably a show, where in every show has to have in the last 5 to 7 minutes that hook to keep you coming back for the next week. Now it doesn't necessarily always have to be there, but it does have to be there, especially in the first episode. Okay, in the second season, especially because the expectation, right? The expectation is that we have to have somebody that's really badass as Abby. I think that being said, you basically have something where it's in the last 10 minutes. So you have his death, okay, in the last 10 minutes. Because look, you have to. That is the inciting incident of the full season. Okay. The reason why Joel has to die, okay, the reason why Joel has to die is because he lied to Ellie. He lied to Ellie. So at the end of the first game and at the end of the first season of the show, basically Joel is telling Ellie that no, there was no cure. Okay. The truth has to come out. So his deeds of lying to her cannot go unpunished. Okay. And the thing is that I feel that he died so early in part 2, but that was needed. It was needed that he died that early because it was the inciting incident of the whole game. If he doesn't die, okay, if he doesn't die, what ends up happening is you don't have a game. You really don't have it because everything is copacetic up until that point. Okay, because we don't know who Abby and everybody are at that point. We have no idea. So I think that it's necessary that he has to die this early. And when we see this, okay, that it's one of those things where this is what starts the whole thing. So what I would do personally, okay, is I would in the first episode, with about 15 minutes left, you kill Joel. Okay. After that, what ends up happening is that what ends up happening is this. She comes back, they start to recover. There's that scene where Tommy and Ellie are sitting on the couch and says, look, Maria won't let me go. And she's basically saying, what? Why not? Okay. You know who did it. Why don't you? She's like, I'm leaving in the morning. You can stop me or not. Okay. And so at that point, he leaves. Okay. He leaves. And she goes, and she's still, really busted up. I mean, not only cuts on her face, but she's crying. And she goes into the bathroom. Okay. And you just see this tears flowing down her face. She looks down, she wipes away the tears, and then when she just looks up, she gives you that Stanley Kubrick look. And anybody who's seen like Full Metal Jacket, that scene where Pyle is like looking up where he's in a crazed look, but he hasn't gone crazy yet. That's what's called a Kubrick. It's that kind of look. She just looks up, and it's just terror. It's this kind of look on her face. Not that look exactly, but the look of you're fucking dead. I'm going to kill every single one of these people that hurt me, my family, and everybody else. And that's it. That's where he cut it off. Because right there, at that point, everything's done. Everything's done. You've killed Joel, so you have the inciting incident done. You know Ellie's going to go after him with vengeance. And Tommy and Maria are still trying to figure out, Tommy's doing his thing. But that's where you end it. And I think that is what they need to do. If they're going to do the death, and they have to, they need to go full out. This is a disturbing game to even look at. But they need to go all out. They really, really do. Abby wouldn't really have a reason to be mad unless she tried to kill Joel because of the death of her father. Right. So that is one of the things that they make us do as a player, okay, is once we get to a certain point in the game, okay, where it's the halfway, which, by the way, I think that's where they're going to end the season. So, once again, full spoilers. Anybody who hasn't watched it or seen it, okay, I'm letting you know right now. After they find Tommy, okay, and he uses some of the interrogation tactics that Joel did and everything else. Jesse come in to help Dina, okay, and they find Joel and they find Tommy. At which point they're not hanging out, but they're hiding out in a theater. Dina is pregnant. Okay, Jesse doesn't know this. And what is going to end up happening is that this is where Abby's going to come in. And this is where Abby's going to come in, and at which point with Lev, and she's going to burst through and write the scene where she shoots Tommy dead, or what we think is dead. Okay. And Ellie says, look, it's me you want. You don't want any of them. And so that's where the season's going to end. And they've already confirmed, HBO and Craig and Neil have already confirmed this is going to be 2 seasons. This second game is going to be 2 seasons. That is the only place that you can logically leave the season at and still have it be worthwhile. And it's a cliffhanger, right? We don't know if Tom, and for anybody who hasn't played the game, or anything else, we don't know if Tommy's dead. We don't know if Jesse's dead. Well, we know that he dies, but we don't know he's dead at that point. So there's a lot of different things that really it will be interesting to see what transpires. That's a perfect way to end the episode. Yeah. And I think that's where you have to do it. Because once again, if you don't end it there, okay, if you don't end it with her looking up in the mirror with this vengeful look, where do you end it? Because we've already talked to Tommy. There's no real other place to end it, right? And we know what's going to happen moving forward. And I hope we get to see JJ. Yeah, I think we will. He's going to be, my guess is you're going to see JJ in the second part so he'll be in the second half of the season. So of the second part of the season. So once again, they're going to end it, I think, in the theater. Okay. And then what will end up happening is, Abby's going to shoot Jesse, and Abby's going to shoot Tommy. The second season is going to be, and by the way, you're thinking to yourself, how the hell are they going to do this when the whole second part of the game you're playing as Abby? I think what we're going to see, okay, is flashbacks. Because if you remember the second half of the season, okay, or the second half of The Last of Us Part 2, okay, we play as Abby. We play as Abby, and this is before, okay, all of this stuff's going on. I think they're going to mix in a lot of flashbacks to where she's having fun with her father. This is before everything. And what's going to end up happening is we're going to go back and forth. Not too many times, but enough to really get it going. Because they can't just do one season as Ellie and one season as Abby. They can't. They just can't do that. But what they can do is they can put flashbacks in there. And they can really make the viewer, go, oh, wow. And that's what they want. Okay? That's what they want. They want you to care about, they want you to hate Abby. That's what they want. They want you to hate Abby because she killed your greatest, the main character. But they have to get you to care about her. Because if you don't care about Abby, you're out. You just turned it off. It doesn't make any sense. Do you think they will do like half of a season, then take a break? Yes. So what they're going to do, they've already said, okay, they've already said what they're going to do is this part 2, okay, or season 2 is going to be two, or the part 2 of the game is going to be 2 seasons. So where, like I said, where they're going to end it is, I think, and I, by the way, guys, this is all speculation. I have no prior knowledge. I'm an avid gamer just like millions of other people out there. I think they're going to end it in the theater. That's the only viable place to end it. Okay? The death is going to be the inciting incident. You have to do it, and you have to do it right. Okay? And then it's what's really going to be interesting. Okay? What's really going to be interesting is how they handle, because you can get around Joel's death. You can kind of sort of tiptoe around that. You can't tiptoe around the rest of the stuff, because don't forget, guys, we have the WLF, we have the Cenophites, we have, Santa Barbara. Okay, we have her Ellie going, doing this. I mean, you have some deep, dark stuff in this. I'm talking about slaves. Okay, when Ellie's trying to find one of the houses. Remember the scene where she gets, strung up, and one of the guys they cut her down, and she's got this big stick sticking out of her stomach, and she pulls it out, and they're laughing at her, and she's laughing at one of the guys, and one of the clickers gets him, and then she ends up shooting the guy in the leg, and you get the machine gun, the submachine gun. There's some really dark, violent stuff in this. And then after that, it's no hold bars. After that, forget about it. You're seeing this kind of Ellie. So really, okay, in all honesty, there are 3 or 4 themes to this game. Number 1 is revenge. Okay, revenge because Ellie is actively upset, obviously, that she killed Joel, or that she, being Abby, killed Joel. Okay. She wants vengeance. She's going to go after Abby. She's going to go after every single person aligned with her, and she does. And you kill each and every person. Okay? And not just, some of these are very brutal deaths. Brutal deaths. And there's no way they could put this on, I wouldn't even be surprised if there was a viewer's discretion advisory on it. Then you have, like Nora's death, very brutal. Okay, it's almost reminiscent of Joel's death, right? Kind of, you know, counteracting it. Then you have, all of these other people around her. The second major, um, the second major theme of the game is acceptance. During the time that she is in Seattle, Ellie has to accept that Joel's dead because it goes from revenge to acceptance, and eventually she accepts Joel's death. She doesn't like it, she doesn't want to, but she does. Okay, and the third main um, theme of the game is forgiveness. Is forgiveness, and how, because there is a point in the theater, okay, and I don't know if we're going to get to that. We'll probably get to that at the end of it'll probably be in the last episode, where Ellie and Abby are fighting, and she is about to slit. So this is the dichotomy. This is how it's so good, right? Lev is with Abby in the theater. Okay, she's already beaten the ever living daylights out of Dina of Ellie. She is about to kill Dina. Okay, and Ellie whispers, because she's on the ground, she's really mangled up, she's pregnant. And she's like, I don't care. And she's about to slit her throat, and Lev walks in. And that stops her. Fast forward, much later in the game, when Ellie goes to the aquarium, and you have the I'm blanking on their names. Okay, they were a couple. Okay, but now he's fallen in love with Abby, but she's pregnant. And what ends up happening is she ends up killing her, and she finds out she's pregnant, and she gets sick because she killed somebody that was pregnant. So you see the dichotomy, right? Somebody gets killed like that, and somebody gets saved. So I really believe that what's going to end up happening is they're going to obviously save Dina. Okay. And that's where probably after the fight, that's where we'll probably end. But yeah, so forgiveness. So at the end of the game, okay, when she goes down, and it's brutal. I mean, people were just hanging on poles, and they're dying. I mean, they're dead. Bunch of dead bodies. And you just see Abby. Now, mind you, when we see her throughout the game, she's built like a truck. She could kick the crap out of anybody. Okay. So the thing is that at that point, when we see her, okay, it's one of those things where, yeah, she is completely and totally, yeah, she's completely and totally, what's the word I want to use? She's not herself. She's hanging on the pole. She's lost a ton of weight. Okay. She has yeah, she's lost a ton of weight, and she is, and they have this huge fight. And there's a scene where Ellie is about to drown. She's about to drown Abby. And you see that shot of Joel. And she lets her go. She's like, get out of my sight. She spares her life because Abby did the same. And that's going to be the underlying question. Abby had already made contact with those fireflies on Catalina Island. So once you beat the game, okay, you see this big round dome, and that's Catalina Island, and there's a boat there. And what ends up happening is that she made it to Catalina, and that's where a third game, everybody wants a third game. I personally don't. I think it would kind of taint this. But that all being said, this is a very dark type of thing. I don't know what they're going to do. Once, that they don't have to really, the good news is all they have to worry about is Joel's death in the first season. They don't have to worry about any of the other stuff until much, much later on. Yeah. And I think that it's going to be interesting to see. It's one of the most, perfect is kind of a long shot of a word, but to me, this is a perfect game. It won over 300 awards, Game of the Year. I mean, IGN, Game Informer. I mean, just a plethora of, 9.5 out of 10. The writing of this game was just incredible. It makes me want to go back and play it again because it's just so. I mean, the whole astronaut scene, the flashback with Ellie and Joel, when they're sitting, she's going, she's like 14 at the time or 15, and they're walking through the woods. Joel pushes her in the water, and then Ellie pushes him in the water, and then so they're walking and they go to the museum. I mean, tell me if you haven't played this game. Tell me you didn't, shed a tear for that. I mean, but you see that too with the juxtaposition of Abby and her father. So good. This is why I really believe Naughty Dog cannot make a third game because the expectation is so high. The expectation is so high. The only, and I'll say this outright right now, the only way that you could make a third game is if you did a prequel. A prequel of Joel and Tommy and the Fireflies. And where you end it is where we see Marlene and say, listen, I have this package that needs to get transported. That's where we end the game. But we see Joel and everybody else in just the just their uprising, their upbringing through the Fireflies. That's the only way it works. Because otherwise, what ends up happening is, there's no other story. There's no other. What is Ellie going to do? Logically play this out for a minute. What is she going to do? She doesn't know where Abby is. She's lost Dina and JJ. She's past Joel. Okay. There's no other legitimate way to do it unless you make a prequel. That's it. And I think that's the only person. Think about this too. We've played as pretty much everybody. We play as Abby. We play as Ellie. We even play as Dina in this second game. But we haven't played as Joel. Think about it. We play as Joel in the first game. True. Okay, that's true. We play as Joel, but we don't, there's a difference between Joel and the Fireflies, as he's coming up, and then having to protect somebody. And that's the beautiful thing about it too. Okay? Is that scene. That is, when you talk about The Last of Us itself, okay? The Last of Us has one pivotal scene. And this is what, Bella and Pedro said they were up nights thinking about this scene, because if you're a gamer, that's the scene, right? And they're in it. Ellie runs away, and Joel finds her and says, "Come on, let's go. Like, you wanted to get rid of me." And he's like, "I've lost people too." What? I've lost people too. She told me about your daughter. Don't you even go there. You have no idea what loss is. And basically, Ellie says, "Listen, I've lost people too. Okay? Every single person around me has died, or they wanted to leave, except for you. Okay? So if you want to leave right now, take off. Okay? But don't just pretend that, that's like the scene in the truck in the television series." And she's like, "I'm not family?" You're like, "No, you're cargo." So you start, when he loses his daughter, that's the inciting incident of the first game. When Joel loses his daughter in the first game, okay, and he not believes, but he grows to care for Ellie. He grows to care for her. That's why he saves her at the end of the first game. That's why. When David is basically trying to kill her, and she runs out of the burning building and says, "I've got you, baby girl." Okay? He's attached himself to her. He loves her so much, he doesn't want to see anything happen to her. So when we get to this game, and Abby does what he does to her, does what he does to him, that's why she's enraged. That's why she is so... We've never seen this before. Okay? My question is going to be, okay, because we all know, we all know that Bella can bring it. We all know that Bella can bring it. The question is, what is the scenes between Bella and Caitlin going to be like? That's what's going to be fascinating, because they have to be able to match toe to toe and head to head. I personally, like I said, I don't want to see a third game, because frankly, it's going to ruin the second game. When you have perfection, and that's what The Last of Us Part 2 is. I know it's not just luck. It's not just me saying this. It's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of words backing it. You can't top. You cannot top it. You've hit the pinnacle. Okay? So I think they're better off leaving it alone, and then doing a prequel so you could see the uprising, Joel and Tommy. Because we haven't played as Tommy yet. That's the thing. We have not played as Tommy. We've played as Joel. We've played as Dina. We've played as Ellie. I think we even played as part as Marlene. But we haven't played as Tommy. I think that would be worthwhile. But yeah, the casting is now done. And this is going to be one of the most anticipated series of 2025. I believe that's when it's coming out. Excuse me, I could be wrong. I think it is. I could be wrong. But even, so, even no matter when it comes out, let's put it this way, no matter when it comes out, okay, if it comes out in 2025, great. If it comes out in 2026, everybody will be looking forward to it. My guess is they're going to want to try and come out in 2025. because if they come out in 2025, that means they're going to have, you know, it's going to take at least from the time these scripts are written to the time they're filmed to the time post happens, you're talking about 18 months. So let's say 2025, okay? And I don't know. You're probably looking at like 2027, early 2028 for the second part of it. So because they really want to take their time. And my guess is they're going to write everything at once. Okay, once they start filming, okay, Craig and Neil are going to go back and write the whole second half while they're filming it. Then they'll go to post, and then they'll probably start filming the second half. That way, by the time the first one comes out, the second one will be in post. But yeah, it's one of those things where I think that this is, and this is the perfect amount too. 3 seasons, perfect. I don't want to see them make a third game. I just don't, because it's going to spoil it. So that's just where I stand. I think that, but this is a perfect game, and kind of makes me want to go back and, and by the way, I didn't even I thought I was pretty good. I didn't even get all of the collectibles or anything else. I thought I did pretty well, but I kind of want to go back and sit down and get involved and do it all over again. I got to say, though, even watching the small little bit of the YouTube clip that I did, of Joel's death, I was really kind of shaken up. It's a violent thing. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think that it's going to be a fun, whenever it comes out, it's going to be the number 1 or number 2 most anticipated thing of that season, of that year, for television, hands down. And think about it right now. HBO, just talking about that real quick, HBO, Succession is going to clean up at the Emmys this Monday. Okay, clean up. HBO, for the past 25 years, they have had fantastic shows. They've had fantastic shows. I mean, we're talking about The Wire. We're talking about The Sopranos. We're talking about even Sex and the City. We're talking, I mean, it just runs the gamut. Okay? It runs the gamut. And I think that when that happens and you have an organization like an HBO that can do that, that's it. You're expecting greatness. Game of Thrones, you're expecting greatness all the time. And that's what they're going to bring here. So yeah, that's today's little nugget. I obviously cannot wait for this to come back. I can't wait. This is going to be incredible. And yeah, so it's obviously, as we move forward and there's more and more, we'll talk about it then. But I actually want, so coming up, guys, we got a couple of things. So tomorrow, you're going to be getting another retrospective, okay? And I think that's either, excuse me, I think that's Quiz Show. I think you guys are going to be getting Quiz Show tomorrow for the retrospective. I scheduled them so far in advance, I forgot. And then next week, you've got 2 more retrospectives coming up. We're going to do a couple more live streams. I'm still trying to figure out what the topics are. I'm going to try. So I just found out today, and I want to send out a warm congratulations to him. Speaking of The Last of Us, speaking of HBO Max and all this, Timothy Good, who was on this show when it was the number one show in the world, ended up winning an Emmy. So I wanted to give him a shout out. And if you guys have not watched the Bills, that third episode of The Last of Us, go watch it. It will make you cry. I think it's called A Long, Long Time. And he was the main editor, and his associate editor ended up winning an Emmy. And so hopefully, fingers crossed, I don't know this because he hasn't told me anything. Fingers crossed they're coming back for the second season. So yeah, I'm going to try and we'll see what kind of schedule he has, but I want to definitely try and get him back on the show ASAP. I'm in the works of trying to get another interview with a stuntman. He's been feature films for many, many years, doing television feature films. And so I'm trying to get that locked down. So I'm trying to get all these different things for you guys pegged down. But it also means that these things do take time. And so what I'm going to ask is that if you could, okay, and I'm not, first of all, anybody that watches all the way to the end, thank you, because it's a long video, even if you have to take it in nuggets. But this stuff does take time to produce. So what I've done is basically, this is the channel, okay? So first of all, hit that like and subscribe button, okay? Please, because that way you don't miss a single video. Moreover than that, right now, I think YouTube is still offering this. I could be wrong. So if you join the channel, it is absolutely free. But I have made them absolutely as cheap as I possibly can. The first one is $2.99 a month. Okay, that's a cup of coffee somewhere. The second one is $5.99 a month. Okay, and the director is $10 a month. Now, $10 a month is not a lot of money. That's 2 gallons of gas. You can't even get Netflix for $10 a month, and you're going to be getting all this content, great interviews, retrospectives. I've got another series that I'm trying to put together, okay, called Anatomy of a Movie. We've got the Perfect Movie series on the channel. You can't get all of this stuff for $10 a month, guys, okay? But if you do it, what you'll be doing is helping me out. And Dadpool, who just came in, okay, is an extremely generous person, and he is actually one of my channel members. I've been here just personally, haven't played the game or seen part one, had stream open the whole time. Thank you. Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. I hope I didn't ruin anything for you. It's definitely, it's good stuff. Dadpool is a very loyal member, and he's been with me from the beginning. And so my goal is that so we're on the march. We're on the road to 2,000 subscribers. Hashtag 2,000. So my goal by the end of 2024 is to get 2,000 subscribers and 20 to 30 paid memberships. That's my goal, because I'd like to do this full time. And that means what I can do if you guys support me is I can bring you better content. And everything that you even if you just hit the like and subscribe button, it's still very helpful because it gets it out there to everybody. And that's my goal. So, if you want to, and I'm not pushing, but if you guys would like to, you can, monetarily help me. But yeah, I have so much stuff lined up for the channel in 2024. I couldn't go. The whole other stream to go through it. So, but I wanted, because I hadn't been on, as a matter of fact, I just did a fantastic interview with a couple filmmakers the other day that really are worthwhile, and they're really highly successful. But that's the kind of stuff you're going to be getting on this channel. So, yeah, that's going to do it for this stream today. It's just about an hour, and that's perfect. So as I said, stay tuned for Monday. Okay. You're going to be, or tomorrow, I should say, you're going to be getting another retrospective. And then throughout the whole year, all this stuff's going to be brought to you. Okay. So that's gonna do it for today. Guys, do the 3 things that you should do every single day. Be good to yourself, be good to others, and take care of yourself. And that's going to do it for me. I'm David Steele, and you have been watching Real Docs. Bye-bye, guys.